Rugby league has gone on the road and it involves a Jerome Luai red carpets in PNG.
How good is it? I just want to sit on a private jet. I want to know what it's like. I've never been on one.
Don't wish for it because we'll never get there.
I want to sit in a boardroom with the High Commission and Prime Ministers in PNG with a bucket hat on.
Yes, exactly.
That was my favourite.
JM.
Get your hat off.
Alongside the Chief Chamis, let's rip into all things Jarome Luai and the PNG Chiefs.
I'm Christian Nicolussi.
I'm Neil Breen.
And I'm Zac Bailey from 9 News, coming to you from the Sydney Morning Herald newsroom. This is 4020, where we give you, our listeners and viewers, a press pass into all things rugby league. Gents, rugby league, it's come a long way when we're talking
private
jets.
Wowee.
And meetings with prime ministers to get a signing that is
Well, this
Jarome
was always
Luai.
going to happen. No one can say they were shocked, Nico. We've got 2 new teams coming in. They've got to get 60 players from somewhere, more than 60, but, 30 per NRL squad each, plus another sort of 20 odd. They need to have backups, all sorts of things. They've got to sign them. And to think that the PNG Chiefs weren't going to go hard for people with the government money from Australia, the government money from the PNG, corporate interest in PNG, being able to throw everything at them, just happening to find seats on private jets for 6 people to go over on a Sunday and back on a Monday for meetings where he's sitting next to the Prime Minister at the football. This is the new way of doing business.
Oh, yeah.
I tell you what. Clubs might be dirty about it because this is what they're up against now. But the Perth Bears, they don't have any of that.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating multi-layered story.
It was crazy scenes. I mean, from a West Tigers supporters angle, if you're thinking about the West Tigers fans, it would have been tough viewing, seeing Jarome Luai there at the footy on the Sunday, bucket hat. I think it's called a Bermuda hat. I've actually Googled
Bermuda
it. It's very
hat,
cool.
okay. Bermuda
But
hat.
he's there sort of waving to the fans. I just thought, you know what, there's a bloke. Well, and good on him. He's going to be chasing the big money over there. PNG have got to do their job. They've got to get a marquee man. But in 6 days' time, the West Tigers, the feel-good story of 2026, Jarome Luai is going to be running out against Cronulla. I'm worried about what this does for the West Tigers. Regardless, he's going to be there for this year. But good things are happening at the West Tigers right now. Jarome Luai is a central figure to all of that. Players come to the West Tigers because of Jarome Luai. It's not necessarily what he does in the field. People question about what he's been doing on the field, whether Jock Madden's a better fit in the halves with Adam Dewey. It's irrespective. Jarome Luai has driven the standards, the professionalism off the field. Players are at that club solely because of Jarome Luai. It's going to be such a shame. I know we need to make the PNG Chiefs a success, but if it's going to come at the expense of a perennial strugglers like the West Tigers, leave me out. I'm not for it.
Look, it's just the way it is. So West Tigers fans have got to be able to say to themselves, look, it'd be great to keep him, but we've got 3 years out of him. He helped drive the culture. He'll be on the other side of 30. It could be a blessing. It could be. You just don't know. But this is what happens when the goalposts are uneven because they have tax-free dollars up there. 1.2 is the number that he's on at the West Tigers. He'll get that at the PNG Chiefs, and 1.2 at the PNG Chiefs per season is actually 1.2 in your pocket because you're not paying any tax on it. That's the equivalent of 1.92 at another club. It's massive money. It's massive money. He can go up there for 3 years. Look, players will go up there if they're in a stable relationship and their partner or wife is happy to go, and if you've got young kids, it won't matter if they're not at school, things like that. They'll put together a roster all right.
Yeah.
They'll put together a much better roster than the Perth Bears will.
Yeah, and he's the perfect fit for them. I keep thinking of Jarome Luai.
Brings other players.
He's a leader of men.
Pied Piper.
I thought Isaiah Yeo at Penrith would have been the perfect fit because he's the ultra professional, gets the job done on the field. But Jarome Luai, the more I think about it, ticks all the boxes. You mentioned the word charade before. I was out at Sydney Airport on Monday night.
And the
Jarome
private jet
Luai.
comes in and there's the car on the tarmac.
We're all there waiting at Gate B, waiting for the Qantas flight from Port Moresby to touchdown at 5:30. Word comes through, guess what? Luai's car's been spotted over at the ExecuJet compound, which is a private
Around
company.
the corner, yeah.
We hail the Uber, get over there. There's all the TV cameras set up. Then the scenes start. The ExecuJet officials spot us. They've spotted the media. Suddenly, a man walks out gets in to Luai's car, and you're probably wondering, how do I know it's Luai's car? Well, he's got the number plate, it's Luai. So unless there's a
Luai's
devoted fan who
Black and gold.
who happens to have the cash to get on a jet. Anyway, the official gets into Luai's car, reverses it, and we're all there standing behind on a Monday night behind the barbed wire fence, just something. Throw us a chip, throw us a bone, anything. Luai's car vanishes through the gates onto the tarmac. Of course, Luai gets out. All the cameras are trying to get
Taylor
the shot.
Swift.
It was. I couldn't believe the military-like precision that PNG sort of were executing to get Luai out of here. Anyway, sure enough, the car comes out, speeds around. All the photographers are there trying to get the shots because the sun had set by this stage. And our man Walter Peters, ever the professional, goes around, just happens to get one shot through the front window where everybody's there. They had when you get the babies, you get the sunscreens inside.
Yeah.
Zach, you would know this because you're still a cult. It doesn't matter. Anyway, they had the black screens. Nobody could get the photos of Jerome, but sure enough, Walter got him, and then he sped off. It was unbelievable scene. I've never seen anything like it. I tell you what, actually, the federal police turn up, 2 cop cars. They said, "What's all this commotion?" And they said, "Jerome Luai." And I said, "Okay, no worries."
And off they went.
Welcome
to rugby league.
They've got bigger issues.
In 2026 with the PNG Chiefs. Anyway, it's happening.
Let's bring it back to the Tigers and moving forward. Say, completely different scenario, but Daly Cherry Evans announces early last year that he's leaving Manly. He's their figure, he's their captain, and I'm a Manly fan. I thought at the time, if he is saying that I'm out, is that his belief of we can't win a comp here? Now, different stages of their career, but
no, this is
it had an impact on that footy side.
It did.
Luai is a different player, but he's very vocal. He's got a lot of those guys over there who's highly respected and outspoken against the Lachlan Galvin chaos.
Yeah, team
Can
first mentality.
this derail them?
This is different to Lockie Galvin. Lockie Galvin was an 18-year-old kid turning 19 who was breaking a contract, right? And, Lockie Galvin didn't say anything, don't pick on him, but his manager and all other people around Lockie Galvin poleaxed Benji Marshall publicly and said he couldn't coach and this kid's destined for a Hall of Fame career and he's in his way and he needs to be let go. Like, that was appalling what happened there. Jarome Luai's not going to do that. He would have let the club know he was going. This is a different situation.
It's different, but when the going gets tough, your leader is leaving. Doesn't matter why. In my view,
I'm worried about the headlines.
If your leader wants out, doesn't matter if they'll go. You know what, Jerome? Well done. You're going to get well paid. You've got a family and whatever, and you've come from it. It speaks about growing up in the streets of Druid. It's what him and Lenu and Critter, they've spoken about their whole career, but they could go on a 5-game losing streak and they look and go, well, you're not going to be here next year. Why should we still listen to you?
Yeah, no. Well, the difficulty is the fact that it's not till the end of 27.
He's very professional, though. Jerome Luai, at the end of the day, he's going to put in. But I am worried about what the optics look like. We keep referring to I just keep thinking of this balcony scene. Like, that's going to stay in my mind.
The waving
to the Port Moresby fans. Actually, we're out at West Tigers training this week with the media, and we actually rang the West Tigers and said, listen, we're all here just to get one shot of Jarome Luai. Just ask him to pretend he's back in Port Moresby, just stroll onto the balcony at Concord, give us a quick wave, and we'll be on our way. Didn't happen. It doesn't matter. But I am worried because there's been a lot of feel-good stories at the moment. They're playing some nice football. I just hope it doesn't break their concentration and their momentum. There's such a young squad. They play on confidence. They play on momentum. They've already lost Appy Coruscant. They're going to Cronulla this Sunday. They're going to be up for it. They got humiliated.
Jarome Buller's out.
Jarome Buller's playing with one shoulder. I just hope it doesn't derail things. And I think Penrith's in the not-so-distant future as well in another round or two. So
just
fingers crossed.
In terms of not necessarily derailing, because you guys are divided on that, what about the attraction of the West Tigers, i.e., Jarome Buller wanting to stay if he knows Luai's not there long term? What effect will it have on keeping the nucleus of that squad together? Because that might be a bigger impact.
Even if you take Jarome Luai out of it, the effect of 2 new teams coming in and tax-free dollars and execu-jets has an effect on every roster. It's going to have an effect on every roster, and it'll have effect on Jarome Buller.
I just thought of this though, Bruni. On the flip side,
then there's more money.
There's a little bit of
There's a little bit of cash to spread around. Yep, that's right. But then you spend it on the next person, and then you don't have the cash to spread around. Look, the NRL decided to expand to grow the wealth of the game. That's what it's about. Oh, we want to increase our footprint. No, they want to increase the bottom dollar in the money they get for the TV rights because they're smarting about getting outdone by the AFL in the last round. of rights, okay? The AFL got that record deal. The NRL didn't get the record deal. This time the NRL wants the record deal to trump the AFL deal so they can say we trump the AFL, right? So they expand, right? So they go and expand and bring in these 2 new teams. When you expand, it doesn't come for free. There's collateral damage, and the clubs took the expansion money. That $600 million the federal government handed over. The clubs all got $4 million.
Yep.
They took it. No one said, "Oh, don't give us the $4 million until I see whether I like it." They all took the $4 million, and there's a ripple effect through the other 17 clubs. End of story. It's the way it is.
All right, let's park Jerome Luai there in PNG. Let's talk about the Dragons that were or
what
weren't
can you say?
there.
No, honestly,
As
no.
our takeaways from Anzac round, the biggest ever loss in an Anzac Day fixture. Credit to Dean Young. He stood up last week and said, "Right, this is my team. I'm blooding Cade Reid. I'm doing all this." But was it the right call at the end of the day to play Cade Reid? So to come out so staunchly in his first answer.
Well,
I can't
say it would have been the right call to play young Kyle Flanagan either. How could you have played him after the week that was? Look, that club was a basket case last week. Young was fantastic. He spoke well. So did Cade Reid when he spoke. But they had to cancel training on Tuesday because of the chaos on Monday when there was no interim coach. So they don't train Tuesday. They do some sort of a session on the Wednesday, have a captain's run. Have Thursday off, have a captain's run Friday, and get towed up Saturday. You know what? The best thing, Nico, that happened to the Dragons last weekend was they got a bye week after it.
Yeah, I hope they don't lose that.
They got...
Fingers crossed.
They got 2 weeks.
To get it together.
I was there on Saturday. Yeah. It was diabolical.
Yeah. But we sat here, Brenny, last week. We sat here last week, Zach, and we spoke about it. Dean Young is not a miracle worker.
No.
Shane Flanagan was not a miracle worker. At the end of the day, the roster is simply not up to it. And there are players in that team that would be flat out getting into the reserve grade team at opposition clubs.
Okay.
They're just, and Cade Reid, we talk about Cade Reid, he had some nice touches in attack.
Yeah, he nearly, look, they thought they'd scored the first try off the back of him, but it was a no try.
But the biggest concern was always going to be his defence. He got shoved away like a little rag doll. I was sitting there at Brookvale Oval on Sunday afternoon watching Haumole Olakau'atu just get into full flight, and I started thinking, if he ran at Cade Reid, it's got to be an occupational health hazard in waiting.
Yeah, absolutely.
It could get proper ugly.
I know.
He's going to be a good player, but he needs to put on size. He needs to put on size quick, and he needs some back rows and centres around him to really aim up.
Look, nothing's going to happen this year with the Dragons.
Yep.
Like, they might do well to win 2 games. Look, some weird things will happen during Origin. You know, they could only win like something like 2 games. You got to forget that. It is up to the club, not Dean Young, but Dean Young as part of it, or whoever the new coach is going to be, whatever, everyone to go, this train wreck wasn't because of we played bad this year. This was 5 years in the making. This is 5 years of recruitment and retention and decision-making and like all of that together. Now they've got to go, how do we be in a different position in another 5 years? They're not going to get out of this hole in years.
There's one feel-good story when they do come back from the bye, and he's not going to win them games on the spot. But Dylan Egan was one of the feel-good stories again last year until he did his ACL. Came back via the Reggies last week. Apparently he played the first half, scored a couple of tries.
He was
did
good.
Nothing the first 15 minutes, but when he did get injected into the action,
okay,
that's
they'll
rush
one
him
thing.
back.
Look, they're going to get drink water. They're going to get Keon Kolomatangi. Okay, there's something. There's something there. The only way to get out of a hole in the NRL, right, is
private jets.
It's private jets. Well, you need luck. You need the recruitment, and you need the sound management, and you need to do what the Roosters do, which is have a chairman who lives, breathes, and eats football, and you know, there's apartment blocks for kids to live in, and all this sort of stuff. But then you need to somehow jag a halfback.
Yeah,
I
agree.
You need a jag one. Like Penrith had it all. Then they had Nathan.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Nathan turned 18, then 19, then 20. Roosters have got something. They got Sammy Walker.
We talk about the Dragons. We shouldn't underestimate how good the Roosters were as well.
Roosters were great.
I mean, they are a sleeping giant.
They're a good team.
They've got one of the best rosters.
They're a good
team. If they're not a top 4 team at the end of this year, I'll give it away. But we shouldn't discount how good they played. I mean, 60 points.
I don't think we are.
60 points.
And I don't discount Tedesco. And I've swung to the camp that think Tedesco should be the fullback for the Blues and not Dylan Edwards.
Because he did score 3 tries in
I know. And
2
then
minutes.
on Sunday, I said that at the start of the continuous call team on
Flip-flop.
Sunday. And then by 2:15, he'd scored 3 tries.
Oh, how good's rugby league?
Oh, it's the best ever.
Bulldogs. Speaking of teams that are struggling, back-to-back
Yeah.
losses against teams they were expected to beat because they had huge injury lists. Who's to blame? What's to blame?
Well,
for where
I've
they're
written
at?
about the Bulldogs and the Storm for tomorrow's Sydney Morning Herald, right? Okay, so the Storm and the Bulldogs are both coached by guys like their attacks. You know, the Storm's had great attack over these, but their defence systems. Serraldo was a noted defence system person where he's developed the defence at Penrith. He's come across to the Bulldogs and they like Gus Gould tried to explain it to me one day without giving the secrets away. They have a defence system where there's plan A, B and C, and that every player in the roster has to be able to instinctively know whether in any circumstance they're using A, B or C. You know, bloke makes up, we're going to B, we're going to C, and then they recruit and retain players based on, can you handle this, right? And then what's happened is in season 2026, this is just my theory, right? In 2026, the six again changed and defensive systems aren't winning games. Speed and attack are winning games. There's a record amount of points, 50 plus a match on average through the year. And so those systems suddenly aren't working against this new thing. That's my theory anyway.
They're clunky in attack too, haven't they? But they have had a few little injuries creeping up now. Viliami Kikau didn't help when he went off
No, it
at
didn't
Peck
help.
the other
It
night.
didn't help.
And we spoke with Stephen Crichton during the week. He was a big addition, but he missed a couple of weeks with his AC.
He didn't
Then
look
revealed,
right. He didn't look right on the weekend.
Then he revealed Jacob Preston, who's probably been their best player all year. He's been playing with 2 bung ACs and been getting painkillers every single week. One tough homebrew. I watched training the other day actually at Belmore and did note that Jacob Preston, one of the best right edge back rowers, he's been discussed as the New South Wales right edge back rower in a few weeks' time. Probably going to line up on the left this week. He was training, of course, with Viliami Kikau being out. He'll plug that side on the left. A little bit of sort of tidbits there.
Interesting.
As for Canterbury, who knows? They've got to get their attack right. They've
They've
got
got
to
to
get
get
an
it
attack
right.
quickly.
You mentioned Melbourne there. Let's look at who's under the pump. Melbourne Storm, Craig Bellamy. I wish we had it on tape when you said your takeaway from round one was
And they
that
still
it's
will.
going to be a Storm Panthers grand final.
I don't know if it'll be a Storm Panthers grand final, but I still maintain they will be there in the 8. They've got too many good players. They're going through a rut at the moment against South Sydney. South Sydney were good. Melbourne simply couldn't hold the ball. They couldn't
South
get to the end
Sydney-
of their sets. It was dreadful.
You talked about the Roosters being good. So are Souths.
They're humming. Latrell Mitchell, my God.
What about Wayne Bennett? He started coaching first grade at Brisbane Souths. I know it was the Brisbane competition, but he did coach Mal Meninga and all those guys there and won premierships in Brisbane in 1977.
You were in year 12? Year
No,
11?
1977. I was in year 4 in 1977. And he is still going, right? And the game changes and there's 6 again changes in that, and he's able to go with it. He's unbelievable.
You know what he is? He's such a good man manager, though. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter that the game's the game. At the end of the day, he knows what 30 men in those sheds. He'll just get him to tweet. He'll get him to.
And
He knows what
he'll-
turns them on.
And he'll have younger coaches there, assistant coaches, and everyone go, oh, he's a gruff bloke and he does it his way. He'd listen.
On the
know
flip
what I mean?
side, though,
Apparently, he's good for a one-liner. He loves just quoting the most completely random people and knows exactly the moment when to deliver them during the week in a video session or after a training session. And the players just sit there going, wow, where did he come up with that? That's zinger.
on the other side, in the other dressing room, Craig Bellamy was sitting there with his hand.
Oh,
in his
he
hands.
he didn't know what to do. You know,
his hands.
I had someone suggest, well, what about Craig Bellamy if Shane Flanagan was under the pump? Well, please, he missed the
Runs
finals
on the
once
board.
ever.
Yeah.
He missed the final once
gonna be-
ever.
he's
He's just going through
a future immortal.
They're
But
just-
you spoke about like Wayne having the ability to bring 30 men together. Craig's done it for so long.
Done it for years.
We've never seen this.
It's just gone right. Look, Cam Munster's not firing for him. He lost Kamakamika to a stroke. He lost Eli Katoa to head knocks when he was out of his control. He was playing for Tonga in a test match overseas. For some reason, Ryan Pappenhausen didn't want to play football again anymore beyond 27. They fell out of love with Nelson Asofa Solomona, and he's gone off to be a boxer. All of these things happen in the one-off season, and they've turned up underdone. They're undercooked.
Yeah. And some of these players are now playing regular footy each week. They're starting to quickly come back to the pack. Joe Chan started the year like a world beater. He's come back to the pack very quickly.
Under pressure, Will Warbrick suddenly looks like just an average player. He used to look like Superman.
And they now lose Jerome Hughes to a
Jack Howarth
HIA.
the same. Jack Howarth, I thought, geez, this guy, he'll play for Queensland for years. Now it's like, geez, if Billy picked him, might have a heart attack.
It's just their depth. But you know what? They'll get one win, and they're just lacking a little bit of
They'll turn
confidence.
it around.
They will
I
turn
heard
it around.
Craig, Cameron Smith was speaking on 100% Footy, where he said that they lost 5 straight in 2012. I think they won
And
on
won
the
the
comp.
gold.
And they won the
comp.
that year, right? Yeah. And he said that Craig walked to him in the middle of the field and said, "Hey, Smithy, I don't know what to do. I'm out of answers." And it was, obviously they don't have a Cameron Smith at the moment, Melbourne Storm, but they've got some pretty handy.
Harry
players.
Grant.
No, but they've
he's
got
a
some
great
pretty,
leader.
pretty handy players. And he said, "Billy, we have to strip it back, like literally treat it like under sevens footy again. All we need to do is catch, pass, tackle, man up." And he said we simplified it. Like, didn't care about the shit anymore. Just boys, like play for each other,
Make meters, make some
whatever.
tackles.
And he said, and then they went on. And then they didn't lose a game that year. Now, like, do they have the people there to bring the group together to believe?
2012 was late in the season too, so they were in there swinging and sort of for a lot of the year. And then they fell away towards the back end of the year. If there's any consolation, this time last year, Penrith 2-6, exactly the same record. Write them off at your own peril. They will be there in the finals. Breeny, I've always said you've always been a pretty bad judge, and I maintain it. Those comments right there.
He gave you a job, didn't he?
He gave me a job.
On that note, we head into the next round of rugby league, and who knows what we'll be talking about next week if we've spoken about prime ministers and private jets this week.
Quick little shush. Expect Canberra might be in a little bit of trouble. I know they lost the other night at Leichhardt Oval against the Tigers, but they did have a 14th man on the field there. Ethan Strange is coming from the field. Yeah. They're going to get a little... Don't do it again.
You were sitting alongside me in the media box, and I heard
Where was the food? I can't eat any more wraps.
Oh, no.
We need some food. That's another thing.
Anyway, you look good in blue, Breeny. At least you two aren't in check-ins this week.
We're in the same clothes, you and I, man.
We are.
Let's cause fights at Channel 9.
Before and after.
That's it for us.
See you, boys.
Good luck.
Catches. 4020 is produced by Josh Towers with technical assistance by Taylor Dent and is overseen by Lisa Muxworthy and Tom McKendry. To listen to our episodes as soon as they drop, follow 4020 wherever you listen to your podcasts. And don't forget to check out all the great pods from the Sydney Morning Herald and The Age while you're at it. Our newsrooms are powered by subscriptions, so to support independent journalism, visit smh.com.au/subscribe. I'm Zac Bailey. Thanks for listening.